Are you attending a record number of Zoom meetings and webinars, and most of them probably look and sound not that good? Well, if that sounds like you and you're looking for some tools and some strategies to look and sound great every single time, or something you can share with your team so they show up prepared and produce professional content that is brand representative, this is a video that I made just for you. It's called Pro Zoom Tips. It's 25 strategies to make your online meetings, webinars, interviews, and videos look and sound professional every time. My name is Mike Koenigs. I've been producing professional content for over 30 years, and I create brands that become competition and recession-proof. Now, one thing I will share with you here is I use a cartoon character to illustrate some of the examples because I didn't want to take pictures of real people and embarrass them. So if you're ready to rock and roll, I'll dive right in. Let's begin. Well, the first thing is positioning your camera. If you are one of those people who does crotch cam on a regular basis, it makes you look fat. And to give yourself an instant 10-pound diet and also look younger, that, by the way, is not attractive. Looking forward does. And the other thing that's really, really powerful is if you go into your preferences in Zoom, there's a special feature called Touch Up My Appearance. It will make you look a lot younger and a lot more attractive. So if there are people who look better on Teams and you don't know why, it's because they found that filter. All right, next up is looking at the lens, not at the screen. Now you'll notice right now I'm looking right at you. One of the things that you see all the time are people who are looking off like this because they've got windows off to the side. Position your windows in Zoom or Skype so it's directly below your webcam, so you're looking right at your audience. They're going to feel like you have an intimate connection with them. And next is framing your shot. This is something that absolutely drives me nuts, but you want to adopt what we call the rule of thirds and also position yourself so you're right in line in the screen. So you don't want to be off too far one way or another and also have the screen so it's just showing your eyes or your nose. Most people have a tendency to position themselves right in the center of the screen. Tilt your display down if you can so you're frame possible in the best way possible. All right, next, this is something you notice all the time. Backlighting is for horror movies. Make sure that when you are positioned that you don't have lighting or a picture window behind you. It looks incredibly unprofessional and all you see is a silhouette. Okay, next is lighting from the front. Not up above like you see right here. You want to have some sort of a nice looking light. One of the best techniques and best tools is something called a ring light. As you can see here, you can get them for under $100. They also work really, really well for an iPad or an iPhone if you're using that. But lighting from the front will not only make you look much more attractive and younger too, people are going to look at you and go, God, you look absolutely fantastic. And you can also put them right behind your display if you're using a laptop. Next one, this kind of goes without saying, but I can't tell you how many people are working with horribly cluttered, ugly backgrounds behind them. One of my favorite stories is when I watch a wealth coach or a financial advisor and they clearly live in a dump. Always be brand representative. Next one, smile. A little bit of energy goes a long way. And what I recommend everyone does is take a Post-it, write on there, remember to smile, and put it right on your monitor. You're going to look a lot more attractive, a lot more interesting, and a lot more dynamic. It increases your charisma right away. Okay, the next one is noise. Right now, with everyone who's working at home, there's so much background noise. Being able to just watch that, prevent yourself from banging on the table, bouncing, clicking, clacking, and that kind of thing. So one of the tools that works really, really well is something called Crisp.ai. What this does is an artificial intelligence plugin that will actually get rid of all sorts of noises. And we're talking about screaming babies, airport dogs, coffee shop. If you're working in a public environment, it's a great tool and it's super affordable as well. Now, I don't have any relationship with this company whatsoever, but it flat out works. All right, next one, just putting on something that looks good. Again, my personal perspective is always be brand representative. I got dressed up for you today. I put on a nice jacket. But what I like to do is I like to make sure that every meeting that gets recorded, people are going to go back and go, wow, so-and-so showed up and they're really, really sharp today. So I make a point of being presentable, even though I'm working at home. All right, this is another one. If you're doing some kind of an event or a webinar, some kind of a memorable theme is also meaningful too. So again, this is mostly for webinars, but give someone something that they can remember. Right now, we're doing virtual DJ dance parties and fundraisers using streaming video and that kind of thing. Every one of these has some sort of a theme. Or even if it's just a business meeting, show up, put on a cool hat or something like that. A little bit of costume goes a long way. All right, another one, similar thing, are props. Now, in just a moment, I'm going to show a couple props, and those are some tools and some goodies and some hardware that I recommend. But anytime you have something interesting, some books or something like that to display, that also goes a long way too. All right. Another one, if you're doing a public presentation, make sure you open up with some kind of a biography, something really, really short so you are memorable. Now, of course, again, this is for public facing, but if you can open up the show saying, hi, my name is Mike Koenigs, and I build competition and recession-proof brands quickly that make money. So something like that goes a long way so you become memorable as well. All right, next one is opening up with a story. Now, I began with something really, really simple today, which was, hey, look, if you've been attending a whole bunch of Zoom meetings and webinars and most of them are boring or poor quality, this is for you. Now, I wanted to make this a really, really short, simple video that you'd be able to pass around and share with your clients, customers, or coworkers so that they show up and present and perform and create quality content that looks and sounds awesome and isn't horrible to watch or listen to. But I wanted to get things rolling, but all it does is take some sort of an opener to get things rolling for you. All right, next one. This is something that's a little pet peeve. Never point at the screen or the monitor. This, in my opinion, is fairly offensive. So I like to create a connection. It's especially if you're talking to the public through a webinar. This, again, goes a long way. You want to be inviting and pull people in. All right. Another one that I live by is something we call the 15-minute rule, which is figure out how you can present all of your content or information in the shortest period of time. One of the old phrases is as short as possible, as long as necessary, but a little bit of preparation goes a long way. Something that I am seeing right now in so many online meetings that I've been attending is they're just not well organized. Everyone's in a hurry to get people together, and they're not in a hurry to finish quickly. All right, next up is restart your computer. Now, if you're using Zoom or Skype or any other service, these tools, these video services can be very, very flaky, and they also take up a lot of resources. And if you're going to be doing an important meeting or an important webinar, and you find that you're having some sort of strange problems, more often than not, all these are solved. So I make a point, anytime I'm doing a public presentation, I restart my computer about 15 or 20 minutes before I begin. That way I can load everything up again, make sure it's running, but I never have any crash problems at all or performance issues, which is the next one, testing your connection speed. Now, in my opinion, this is, again, something that everyone's suffering from. And if you use Google Speed Test, all you have to do is search for Speed Test. This is actually, I just tested mine a moment ago. I was getting 750 megabits down, 30 megabits up, which, by the way, is really, really, really fast. But test your speed, see what's going on, and whenever possible, get a direct hardware connection, meaning a cable from your router to your computer, because Wi-Fi is very unreliable and there's so many gadgets and devices that are being used. If you're working at home and someone's using the microwave, any kind of devices can interfere with your performance right now. All right, speaking of which, turning off file sharing. So any kind of downloads, anything that's going on, and also letting people know in your home or your office that you're about to do an event Very important to let them know that, so they're not doing a lot of high bandwidth things right now. And that goes the same also with uploads. So turning off or pausing Dropbox backups and notifying everyone on your network ahead of time will go a long way. Again, I've seen so many herky-jerky events that stop and start, and it's oftentimes because there's so much network traffic. Now, this is something that it depends, but it's my opinion that headsets make you look like a giant dork, and you can get really, really cheap, nice in-ear monitors that are small and invisible. Again, having and looking brand representative goes a long way, especially if you're doing publicly facing webinars. I'm absolutely appalled these days at the number of people just show up. First of all, they're not brand representative to the organizations they work for, but also just look like they live in their grandmother's basement. That's my opinion, but take it for what it is. All right, next up, a high quality microphone. Now, one of the best USB microphones you can get is one called Blue from Yeti. Now, I'm using a really high-end broadcast microphone right now that does have some fancy outside hardware. You can see it down here. It's a device called a Rodecaster Pro. This is a Shure SM7B. They're used by a lot of podcasters. But for $100, the Blue Yeti or any of the Blue microphones are super affordable. They sound great, and people, you notice such a huge difference versus using either the cheesy microphone that's built into a pair of headphones or the built-in microphone, which picks up a lot of noise, especially on PCs. All right, next one. This is a matter of just being a decent human being. Make sure you click mute whenever you're not speaking. And again, I've seen so many Zoom meetings where people are crunching, they're eating, they're making something, they're walking around, and it's an unbelievable amount of noise in the background. I think it's just common courtesy to do that if you're in an online meeting. All right, next up, the webcam that you're using. Most webcams these days are fairly decent, but for around $100, you can get a really, really good webcam. The ones I recommend are the Logitech C930 or the BRIO, which costs about $200. These are very, very good, and you'll notice a massive difference in the quality of the lighting. You can also download some software that allows you to pan and crop the images and adjust your color settings as well. So, in my opinion, Logitech makes the best webcams around, and I've tested a ton of them. All right. Another option, and this is very similar to what I'm using right now, you can get something called a Camlink and use a DSLR camera. This is from a company called Elgato. It costs $100, and it does something called HDMI to USB conversion. And when I told you about props earlier, well, I have one here to show you. So this is a DSLR camera. This is the Camlink. You run an HDMI cable out of the DSLR, you plug the USB into your computer, and you plug the other end of the HDMI right here. This will make all of your productions look absolutely insanely good. Super professional. Now, again, a good DSLR, you can get a starter one for about $500, but if you really want to stand out and be the best looking, highest quality production whenever you are doing a presentation, especially if it's a webinar, man, does this really show up. People notice you. So getting a ring light and one of these, it's probably about $700 for a basic system. It goes a long way. Another $100 for a good microphone. It's really important and valuable. All right, what's next? Well, it's recording everything. Again, I've seen this consistently happen where if you are using Skype, for example, there's something called Ecamm Call Recorder. There's also products for PCs or Windows. And then, of course, if you're using Zoom, you've got a record feature. Now, if you record locally, the quality is generally higher than recording to the cloud. It's a bigger pain in the butt to distribute afterwards, but the net is something else that's really cool here. There's a product called Otter.ai, and you can connect it directly to Zoom. It will automatically upload and transcribe every one of your meetings into full text and recognize the voices of the people inside it as well. And you can see in that little demonstration, I actually recorded this right before I came on with you. I was talking to Otter. It does real-time transcription. Very frequently, I actually run it in the background in a window, and I can watch as people are talking in real time and read what they're saying. I've noticed my comprehension goes up dramatically. Now, the other thing that's great is after a meeting's done, if you've got Zoom connected to Otter, you can send out the transcript to all the attendees afterwards as well, so they can skim it. You can also listen to the audio at a higher speed, like 2.2 times. You can click on the text. It is a phenomenally useful tool. So, important thing is record every meeting so you can distribute them afterwards. I generally like to record locally. I also send the video. If you're using Zoom, you can send it to a unlisted YouTube channel in real time, and the quality is really, really good. So a couple big ideas for you, but having backups is really, really valuable. All right, next up is engagement. So one thing to know is your audience is constantly distracted. They're texting, they're Twittering, they're twaddling, they're Facebooking. So if I'm doing a public webinar, I make sure I create polls ahead of time. I create lots of engagement activities, and I'm constantly reminding people to write something down. If I'm doing a meeting, again, I stick to the 15-minute rule. I create an agenda ahead of time that's creating blocks that are 7 to 15 minutes long each, and they have a beginning, a middle, and an end. But the more engagement you create, the faster you get it done. People really remember that, and you build a high-value brand for yourself and your business. All right, next one. This drives me nuts. People who don't turn off their sound effects, keeping their, either if they're using Skype or the ding-dong bell inside Zoom, which you can turn off. Any system noise, all your notifications, turn that stuff off. If you have Skype also, the boops and beeps, turn off your ringer on your phone. Again, it adds to the lack of professionalism that I consistently see. So here's the bottom line summary. If you've enjoyed this video so far, I tried to make it as short as possible. Pass it on. Give it away. And I also have a couple other videos for you if you enjoyed this. One of them is something I call the one-word offer and two-word brand. If you're looking for a way to be absolutely memorable when you're marketing or promoting your business or going out and creating engagement online, this is a super fast, easy to understand concept in less than 10 minutes that I believe will forever change the way you think about your marketing and your advertising. The other thing I have for you is a podcast that I do with Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach. It's called Capability Amplifier. There is a short link to go there, and that is mrbz.com/CA. That brings you there. The other one was mrbz.com/OWO. All right. And the third and final thing that I have for you is if you have enjoyed this video and you want to learn more about the studio that I'm working in right now and how I operate and control it, I also have a link in the description that gives you a tour of the video and how I work with people inside of it. One of the most important things I think you can do is create a high-quality business environment. This is a home office that I built. I work in here. I create content. I produce my podcasts, and it is the most productive environment I've ever worked in or built. I've built 7 studios in my career. I think you'll get a lot out of that too. So this is Pro Zoom Tips. I hope you enjoyed it. Please share it with anyone you know, anyone on your team who can benefit from this, or if there's things you'd like to say to them, but you want someone else to say it for you, pass it on. Thanks for watching. This is Mike Koenigs. So long.